Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. I'm Rob Finnerty alongside Lindsay Keith. As inflation continues to cripple the American economy, President Joe Biden is now considering options that weren't on the table when he took over as president 17 months ago. His latest solution, get this, he now wants to roll back tariffs that date back to the Trump administration on Chinese imports. But is this the right move?
Well, that's a great question. Let's welcome in former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor and board member for the American Conservative Union, Katie McFarland. Katie, it's so good to see you this morning. All right, so inflation hit 8.6% in May. Economists now believe this proposed solution would barely dent that number. Nothing the inflation rate would likely drop by as little as a quarter of a percentage point. So, Katie, are there any better solutions to this? Is this removing tariffs going to work?
No, I mean, this is the worst thing to do. First of all, as you point out, it's not going to make a darn bit of difference on supply chain problems or on inflation. The real reason we have inflation is because Biden's war on fossil fuels and because of the Lollapalooza spending of the Biden administration. So it's not going to help. It's not going to help the economy. And then the second point is, what signal does it send to China? It says to China, look, you can do more or less whatever you want. And we're so nervous about the inflation and supply chain problems that we're not even going to slap you on the wrist. So go for it. And what's China going to conclude? Well, this is their moment to step out, whether it's to take action against Taiwan, not necessarily military action against Taiwan, but to go after Taiwan's microprocessing facilities, which is the majority. I mean, like 90% of the world's chips come from Taiwan.
Right.
Or it's to take a bigger role in the South China Sea.
KT, I know that you were involved in the Abraham Accords. You're very familiar with Saudi Arabia. Yesterday, the White House announcing that Joe Biden will, in fact, visit Saudi Arabia next month. We know the Saudis are going to want to talk about Iran. I am hoping the Biden administration wants to, at some point, talk about oil. How does this play out? What's the point of this trip?
Oh, good luck with that one, too. You know, look, the Saudis, what he's going to try to do is to say to the Saudis, please pump more oil. That'll help. It'll increase supply in the world. It'll bring down global prices for oil, natural gas, and particularly American gasoline. But the Saudis aren't going to be terribly receptive to that. First of all, Joe Biden has made it a real point, not only when he was vice president, but particularly as president, to turn his back on Saudi Arabia, to help Iran, Saudi Arabia's mortal enemy, help Iran become rich and a nuclear power. So, you know, the Saudi crown prince, the guy who runs Saudi Arabia, he wasn't even taking Joe Biden's phone calls a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of traction with the Saudis in trying to convince them to pump more oil. And even if he did, it's not going to make a difference on inflation. What makes a difference is if the United States gets back to producing oil and natural gas and gets back to a more responsible budget.
So let me ask you this, because when I look at how President Trump handled Saudi Arabia, it was one of his first foreign trips. He realized their importance in the region, in the Middle East, understanding their importance of one of the largest oil producers in the world. And to you point out, Mohammed bin Salman would barely talk to him. There was this tit for tat, everything going back to how they're treating their people, this death of Jamal Khashoggi. But if you look at what Saudi Arabia is doing now, this 2030 plan that MBS has, it's quite progressive. They're trying to change things. Do you think that Biden's making a mistake by not building that relationship more?
Yeah, and for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, the Saudis may have historically had a bad human rights record, and there may be some complicit, some connection to the leader, Mohammed bin MBS, to the murder of the Washington Post journalist.
Right.
But taken in a bigger picture, the Saudis have had very progressive laws, particularly with regards to the rights for women, in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years. So shouldn't we reward a country who's actually improving rights for women? But again, it's the hypocrisy of it. I think the reason he's going, frankly, is so he can have another excuse for why we have high oil and gas prices.
And
I think he's all the dog ate my homework. It's everybody's fault. And now he's going to go and say, well, it's the Saudis' fault. They wouldn't pump more oil.
They wouldn't do it.
No, inflation in Saudi Arabia, by the way, KT, 2.3%, nowhere near the 8.6% that we've got right here.
Right.
Everyone's so mad at these PGA Tour golfers, by the way, that are playing on that Saudi Live Tour. There's a PGA Tour event that starts tomorrow. It's like, look, we can buy their oil, but golfers can't play Gulf for a Saudi tour. It's like such hypocrisy, and the left is up in arms about this. KT, so good to see you, as always.
Thank you both. Thanks very much.